Today we geek out about the perfect moment. Hey guys, what's going on? It's Lee with Geek City USA here, and today we're going to talk about the latest game from Button Shy Games called The Perfect Moment. Now, in The Perfect Moment, it's a two-player game in which you are in a time machine and you are trying to change time. You're going to revisit the years 1981, 1994, and 2005 to try to make the perfect timeline and essentially get the most points and defeat your opponent. So we'll take you over here, I'll give you a brief example of how the game is played, and then we'll come back and I'll give you our thoughts on the game. All right, guys, this is the perfect moment. Now, in a perfect moment, you have ran into yourself and you're stepping into a time machine and need to change the perfect moment in life. So, for example, if you look at this card here, it says, Destination 2005, you lose your phone and wallet if you get caught up in the fight. So the goal is you're trying to change moments, and in doing so, thematically for the game, you're just trying to find these two items and score a card based upon that. So when you set up the game originally, you'll shuffle your deck and you're going to set out a card, and this is going to be your paradox card. Now, as a paradox, this is going to be your goal card. So in order to score, you will need to get flowers and chocolates, these items. So you can choose to, when you lay this down, every card you're going to see has something written on either side of it. In this case, flowers lets you do this action, and chocolates lets you do this action. So the very first thing you're going to do is when you play a paradox, you will face it one way or the other to the deck. And the way that it is faced, that is an action that you will get to perform. But I'll cover that in a minute. That's the first thing you're going to do when you set up. You're going to deal each player 4 cards. And then what each player is going to do is they are going to simultaneously assign equipment. So here is your hand of cards. Now you'll see here that each hand of cards is going to have 2 items on it, as well as a destination, just like in your paradox. They're the exact same cards. And what you're going to do is you are going to assign a card to be your opponent's equipment. You are going to take a piece of equipment, and then you are going to keep one of these cards as a revision, basically a secret goal card that you can score, which in this case I'll just hold on to this one, and the other card you can go ahead and discard to the bottom of the deck. Now you may also, instead of discarding it to the bottom of the deck, you can return it to the top of the deck. So either way is just fine. And your other player is going to do the same thing. They're going to take a card for themselves, equip a card as equipment, they'll give you a card, they'll keep a card as their revision, and then they will either discard or return a card. Now let's talk about the strategy involved in this here. Now obviously as this game goes on, your goal is to score cards. Now when you score a card, you are going to want to have these 2 items. So again, in this case, flowers and chocolates would allow you to score this card. And you do so by collecting these equipment cards in front of you. Now you look here, for example, this player has flowers. Now, for whatever reason, and I'll just jump right into the scoring so you can see what you're going for. Let's say this player had flowers and chocolates. If you notice, both of these are facing them. They would be able to score this card for 3 points. Each card can be scored for 3 points, 2 points, or 1 point. So in this case, if both items that tie to the paradox are facing you or facing away from you, if they're both on the same side, you would be able to score that card for 3 points. If this had looked like this and they weren't on the same side but you had both of them equipped, you would score this card for 2 points. So when you score a card, you're going to take it in front of you and face it whether it's 3 points or 2 points. Because again, you look and see this way it says 2 points, this way it says 3 points. So that's how you'll keep track of that. However, if you only have, we'll just put this card back in the deck, if you only have one of the items, so in this case, this player has flowers, they can score this card and they would score it for 1 point and they would put it in front of them face up. Now, what happens is you would continue the game, there'd be another paradox, you'd go throughout the game, but this card is fair game, so at a later time, your opponent can actually score this card and steal it from you and gain, if they have both of these, the 2 to 3 points. So that's how you're going to score. That's how you're going to get points in this game. Now let's talk a little bit more with how the gameplay mechanics work. Now what you're going to do on your turn is you'll see that you have cards facing you. Now whatever is facing you, so in this case, to go with the layout of the camera, we have the mask, the ring, the map, and the tickets that are facing us. Now this is equipment that we have that we can put to our own good use. So when I play and I try to get flowers and chocolate, so I match up this paradox, or if I'm going to do the secret revision that I have in my card, that's another thing, and we'll talk about that. You are going to take actions. You get to take up to 2 actions. So you're going to look and you're going to pick on one of these equipment cards. So in this case, like let's say here, I can look at the top 4 cards of the deck and return them in any order. So you see here, that is what the tickets will allow me to do. So I can go ahead here and I can take the top 4 cards of the deck and I'll look at them and return them in any order. Now again, returning goes to the top of the deck. Discarding goes to the bottom. So that's a very important key to remember. So I can look at these and I can see that, I want flowers and chocolates. Hey, here's flowers. I'm going to put that on the top. But look, I have a yellow card in my hand, this revision. And I want a gun and armor. So I can maybe even put a gun at the top of the deck if I want to, if there's some way that I can get this card later. So let's just say for the sake of this point, I'll put this card on top. We'll return them in this order, and I'll put them back on top. So that is the first action that I can do. Now, one thing I forgot to mention is you also can perform the action that's facing the deck of cards. So when you take your turn, you can pick between 5 actions, the 4 that are facing you and the 1 on the paradox that's facing the deck. So now let's do this action here. So the chocolates here, let me draw 2 cards, equip 1, discard the other, and return an equipped card. So you're going to be very thorough in doing what that card says. So first we're going to draw 2 cards. Now we're going to equip 1. So I'm going to look here and I want chocolate and flowers, and look, here are flowers right there. So I'm going to go ahead and equip the flowers, and then it says discard the other. So we're going to put this to the bottom of the deck. And I can put that there, and then it says return an equipment card. So one of these cards I will have to put to the top of the deck. So I will return this card because I have this revision card that I might want to try scoring later on. So this is going to go to the top of the deck. Now I've done my 2 actions. Now I have the option of I can score. Now, again, if you're going to score a card, you're either going to score the paradox or you may score the revision that's in your hand. So in order to score, again, you need to have 2 matching items if they're on side by side. So if these 2 matched or these 2 locations matched, I could score this card for its full 3 points. If I could match both flowers and chocolate, but they weren't side by side, they were placed like that, I could score this card for 2 points. However, in this case, I only have flowers. What I can choose to do is I can choose to score this card. I will put it in front of me, and this will count as 1 point, but it can now be stolen from my opponent, or by my opponent. But that's okay. So I will take this card as it's 1 point, and I'm going to go ahead and draw the next paradox. Now the next paradox is this blue card, it says someone watches where you keep your wallet and where you buy your tickets. So I'm going to face, let's see, rotate one of your opponent's equipment or look at the top 4 cards of the deck. I'm going to rotate one of my opponent's equipment. I think I might want to use that later on. So then it would go on to my opponent's turn. Now the opponent's going to do the exact same thing. They're going to look, this is the revision that they have in their hand, which they have wallet and keys is what they want. But they have a wallet in their hand, and that's one thing that's needed on this paradox. So let's see what they can do, if they can get this card to either play here or something else. So facing them up to 2 times, swap an equipped card with your revision. That might be what we want to do. So let's see, what else do we have? Your opponent may score their revision for 1 point, and then you can activate one of their things. Let's see, draw 2 cards, return 2 cards. Let's do this. So they are going to, our opponent will draw 2 cards. We draw a yellow card. Is this good for us? We want tickets in a wallet. What's in our hand? We have a wallet. This is perfect. So, okay. So draw 2 cards. That was what we read, right? Draw 2 cards and return 2 cards. So we will return this card. And let's return this card. And we will put this card in front of us, ticket side down. Now the next thing that we are going to do is up to 2 times swap an equipped card with your revision. Well, I'm going to swap this equipped card with my revision and equip the wallet. So that was my 2 actions. Now I'm going to go ahead and this player is going to score this paradox. We have wallet, we have tickets. We can score this for 3 points. So we will take this card indicating that it's 3 points. So it's upside down, but we'll face it to the opponent so they know they got 3 points. They can go ahead and pick the next revision and figure out how they want to set it and continue on. Now play is going to continue and go back and forth until either one player gets 16 points. So for example, I have 1 point, my opponent has 3 points, or until this deck is gone and you can no longer put any paradoxes out. And at that point, whoever has the highest points or whoever gets 16 points first would be the winner of the game. Now that is a real quick high-level overview on how to play the game. For more detail on how these cards interact with each other, definitely go check out the Kickstarter page for more information. We're going to take you back up top and I will give you our thoughts on the game. All right, guys, that was a perfect moment. So let me start by saying that that was a prototype copy of the game, and while that was a prototype, the card quality was excellent. And this being Button Shy Games, they have a track record of a good quality card. But I will say, definitely check out the Kickstarter in the event that there's any changes made to the art or the layout or anything like that. I think everything's fairly final, but definitely check it out there for any changes that may have occurred. Now with that, let's talk about the gameplay of the game. So the Perfect Moment is very much a puzzly game. You are playing not only the cards that you have in front of you, but you're also playing your opponent across from you because you don't know what they're going to do, what they have in their hand, how they're going to try to alter the paradox or alter their equipment to fulfill the paradox and score it. So you are very much figuring out what you're going to do, what they're going to do, and there's a big meta game to the game. There's a good amount of brain burning that can happen as you're trying to get the most out of your actions. For example, if you have one equipment card and you have the match for the paradox or the match for the revision that's in your hand, and you want to try to scry the deck or go through the deck to find the card that you need, you have to really plan ahead of time because you might actually set yourself up for the next turn only to have your opponent take the card off the top of the deck and score the paradox or score their own revision. So there's a lot of planning and you have to be very careful with that as you go. Now the game itself is something that's really easy to teach and it's really easy to understand, but like some of the old classic games, it's one of those games that it's really easy to learn, but it's something that'll take a lifetime to master because there is so much puzzle to it. And again, you're playing your opponent as much as you're playing the cards and what you're drawing. Now I do want to touch on the theme because I love time travel. I grew up on Back to the Future and Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures and stuff like that. So when I saw that this was a time travel theme, I was very excited about it. But I will say that the theme, while you are trying to revise history and change the paradox and everything like that, the theme of time travel is kind of pasted on. It's more about the mechanics of the game, and that's okay. The game plays very well and it's a lot of fun, but if you're looking for a deep time travel immersion, that's kind of not as much there as I would have liked to have seen, but the concept of the game is excellent still as it is. Now all in all, we enjoyed this game. It was a lot of fun to try to line up your equipment to score those cards, and it was excellent when you were able to actually steal one of those scored cards from your opponent when they scored it for 1 point, and you were able to later steal it for 2 or maybe even 3 points, steal it out from under them. It was a great feeling and it was a great experience in the game. Again, the time travel theme isn't as heavy as I would have liked, but overall we did like the game. So I would definitely recommend that you check out the Kickstarter for more information, especially because Button Shy Games does a great job at fitting a lot of game into your pocket. That's one thing I absolutely love about their games is you get an 18 card pack that you can just put in your pocket and take with you everywhere. And I think that the immersion and the amount of game that they provide in those 18 cards is excellent. So based upon that, I would definitely recommend you check out this Kickstarter. All right, guys, that's it. Thanks for hanging out. I'm Lee with Geek City USA. Please do us a favor and hit the subscribe button, like, comment down below, interact with us on our social medias, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, the whole 9 yards. We'd love to get to interact with you guys there. We appreciate your time. Thanks for hanging out with us, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.